Good morning, girls. This is Dr. Kiran deshwal, Assistant Professor English, Baba Ganga Das Government Girls College, Shahpura. In this video lecture, I will teach you the essay How Should One Read a Book, composed by Virginia Woolf. For the introduction of the author and for a brief introduction of the essay, I would suggest you to refer to my previous video which I have uploaded yesterday. So let us begin with our essay. In the first place, I want to emphasize the note of interrogation at the end of my title. First of all, Virginia Woolf would like to justify the title of this essay. She says that why I have put a question mark at the end of the title of this essay. So you can see the question mark. How should one read a book? At the first glance, you would think that she is going to suggest us some ways of reading, but it is very paradoxical when she says that even if I could answer the question for myself, the answer would apply only to me and not to you, because the way of reading differs from person to person. Your way of reading can be or might be different from my way of reading. The only advice, that's why she says that the only advice indeed that one person can give another about reading is to take no advice. She says that we should take no advice before reading a book. Instead, to follow your own instincts, we should follow our own instincts. We should read a book in our own way, in our own manner, according to our will, according to our choice. To use your own reason, we should apply our own logic to come to your own conclusions, and we should use our brain to reach to conclusions. If this is agreed between us, then I feel at liberty to put forward a few ideas and suggestions, because you will not allow them to fetter that independence which is the most important quality that a reader can possess. See, she says that if this is agreed between us, what? That you need not to follow any advice before reading a book. Then she says that then I feel at liberty, then I am free to put forward a few ideas and suggestions about reading, because before that you will not allow them to fetter, to hinder that freedom or that independence which is the most important quality that a reader can possess. First of all, a reader should feel free about reading something. After all, what laws can be laid down about books? She puts a question. She asks that what laws should be laid down about books. And she gives an example. She says that the Battle of Waterloo was certainly fought on a certain day. Okay, we can say that the Battle of Waterloo was fought on a certain day, on that particular day. But there may be certainty because it was fought on a fixed date. But uh, it is numerical. It is numerical, so it can be a fixed date. But it is Hamlet a better play than Lear? Nobody can say, because some people like Hamlet and some other like Lear. So taste of people or interest of people differs. Hence, their taste of reading differs, their way of reading differs, their interest of reading differs. That's why she says that each person, each must decide that question for himself. She leaves the question on the readers. You should decide first. So how you will decide whether Hamlet is good or Lear is better? You first of all you have to read that. After then you can give your views. After then you can say that this play is better than that, because you have to give your reasons. You have to give the reason why Lear is better than Hamlet or vice versa. Further, she says that to admit authorities, however, heavily furred and gowned, into our libraries and let them tell us how to read. to admit authorities. Here authorities means the person who impose laws. So she says that to allow authorities who are heavily furred and gowned, who are laden with rules, into our libraries and let them tell us how to read. If they guide us, if they order us that how to read, if they impose laws upon us about reading, which laws, like if they say what to read, if they suggest what value to place upon what we read, if they suggest what is to destroy the spirit of freedom, she says that this will be to destroy the spirit of freedom, which is the breath of those sanctuaries. Those sanctuaries means libraries. The breath, the life of the libraries is freedom, and if you impose any law there, it means you are destroying their freedom. So everywhere else we may be bound by laws and conventions, there we have none. Virginia Woolf says that everywhere else on this earth, whether it is a cafe, it is a bar, it is a restaurant, it is a school, it is a college, canteen, we may be bound by laws and conventions. There may be laws and conventions which we have to follow before entering that particular place, but in libraries there we have none. In libraries we don't have any laws. But to enjoy freedom, but excess of everything is bad. So we should know the technique, we should know how to enjoy the freedom. If the platitude is pardonable, we have of course to control ourselves. Excess of everything is bad, so we have to control ourselves. We must not squander our powers. She suggests us, she gives an advice, she says that we must not, it is prohibited by our author. She says that we must not waste our power and energy helplessly and ignorantly, squatting half the house in order to water a rose bush. She says that we must utilize our energy, our power. She says that we should not wash the whole house in order to water a single rose bush. Our concentration, our attention, our center point should be the rose bush which we have to water. She gives a very beautiful example that we must train them exactly and powerfully here on the very spot. We should be centric towards something, we should be to the point towards something. This, it may be, is one of the first difficulties that faces us in a library. It happens with everyone. Whenever you enter in a library, you find that there are various books, there are various sections. So if you start randomly, you will not reach to your goal. You won't be able to decide what you want to read. So you will be confused. You will be confused in getting what is the very sport which you have to choose or where you have to work upon. So she says that they may well seem to be nothing but a conglomeration and huddle of confusion. You will be confused because there you will find a lot of books, a lot of books of poems, a lot of books of novels, a lot of books on history, on memoirs, dictionaries and blue books, books written in all languages by men and women of all tempers, races and ages, jostle each other on the shelf. On one single shelf you will find books by men writer, women writer, by different races, by the writers of different races, by the writers of different ages, and you won't be able to judge because, and outside the donkey brays, outside the library, there will be noise of animals. The women gossip at the pump, there may be the noise of females. The colts gallop across the fields. So she wants to say that you won't be able to concentrate. Where are we to begin? So the first question is, where are we to begin? How are we to bring order into this multitudinousness chaos? There will be a chaos, there will be a disordered situation, and you have to bring an order in order to start and get the best and widest pleasure from what we read. If you want to get the best, if you want to get the pleasure, which is the aim of reading, so first of all you have to decide from where to begin and what to read. She says that it is difficult, but it is simple enough to say that since books have classes in every library, the librarian maintains the books in a proper way. He or she arranges them by dividing them into classes. He or she, the librarian, divides the book into classes according the genre. You will find the books on fiction, the books biographies of someone, you will find the books on poetry. So first of all we should separate them. She advises the readers to separate the books first. First of all, you should make your mind whether you have to read fiction, whether you have to read autobiography, biography, or poetry, and take from each what it is right that each should give us. And then, after choosing the genre, when you have make your mind that today I will read a book of fiction, then you have to take the right that the book want to give you. Yet few people take from books what books can give us. This is the tragedy. She is sorrowful on this thought that a very few people can take from books what books can give us. Always an author writes with an aim. He or she wants to convey some particular message, and but if we are unable to get that message, then the author fails. So we are not reading that in a proper way. Most commonly, some come to books with blurred and divided minds. And why it is happens? Because we read some book with a prejudiced mind. Before reading, if we ask someone that how is the book, shall I read it or not? So if he says that it is good book, you should read it, then you will read it happily. But if he haven't read that and he or she suggests that, oh, don't read that, it is not a good book, so there will be somewhere in your mind you will if you start the book, you can't get into it. You will lack the interest, because somewhere in your mind you will feel that, oh, this is not book, he or she was saying so. So before reading a book, our mind should not be divided, our mind should not be blurred. We should be clear enough to make ourselves believe that this is a good book and I will read it, and if I have to judge it, I will judge it after completing it. So asking of fiction that it shall be true, of poetry that it shall be false, there is a preconception about certain genres, like people says that fiction is not true because it is a fabricated story. Fiction is written on a fabricated story. So if before starting a fiction, if you question yourself that whether it shall be true or not, so you won't get the pleasure, you won't get the delight from that book. And of poetry that it shall be false, it is said that poetry is false. There is so many falseness in poetry, it is a mimicry. So if you think that poetry is false, you won't be able to get the delight or the pleasure which the poet wants to give you. Of biography, that it shall be flattering, because we know that if someone writes someone else biography, uh, it is said that it biographies are written to please someone. So if you think that it can be flattering, then you won't be put your confidence or your trust in the author. Of history, that it shall enforce our own prejudices. So if we think like that about particular genres, we won't be able to get the meaning, we won't be able to get the pleasure, we won't be able to get the message. If we could banish all such preconceptions, so Virginia Woolf suggests that first of all we have to remove all these negative thoughts from our mind before we start reading. She says that if we could banish all such preconceptions when we read, first of all, before we start reading, we should remove all these prejudices or preconceptions or negative thinking from our mind. That would be an admirable beginning. She says that that will be an admirable beginning. Then I will appreciate the reader. She suggests that do not dictate to your author. We should not follow blindly our author. We should not dictate him. We should not copy him. We should try to become him. A book is always a conversation. An author con- an author communicates with the reader through words, so we should try to become him. She suggests that be the fellow worker of your author and accomplice. If you hang back and reserve, if you have negative thought, if you stop yourself, and if you criticize at first before reading, if you start criticizing first, you are preventing yourself. She says that you are stopping yourself from getting the fullest possible value from what you read. Then you won't be able to get the full meaning. But if you are open minded as widely as possible, but if you open your mind as widely as possible, she says that, then signs and hints of almost imperceptible fineness from the twist and turn of the first sentence will bring you into the presence of a human being unlike any other. Then you will feel with the author, then you can feel the emotions of the author, then you can feel what the author wants to say. If he is saying something painful, you can feel that pain. If he is saying something joyful, you can feel that joy, you can enjoy it. So if you want to enjoy, or if you want to enjoy the real message or the real ideas or the real meaning of some work, first of all, put away your negative thoughts, keep yourself away from all negative thinking. You should keep your mind open, you should keep your mind free, and just enter into the book without any prejudice, without any preconception. Just read it with a fresh mind. Then she says that from the very first sentence you will like the work. Steep yourself in this, acquaint yourself with this, steep yourself in this, indulge in that, acquaint yourself with that, be acknowledged with that, and soon you will find that your author is giving you, then you will realize that the author is trying to give you something, or attempting to give you something, something far more definite, which is far more definite, which will be useful for you. Thanks for watching.